Hey you guys, happy Masculine Mondays. I am Regal Essence on QueenTV, on QueenTV After Dark. I'm life as a love goddess. I'm life as a laidback mom. I'm your ray of sunshine in the afternoon time. I'm your crystal healer and Dilla, and I'm your past life princess. Hey boo, hey. So happy Masculine Mondays, you guys. I'm so excited to bring you guys this topic. You already know I'm excited. So this topic today, we're going to talk about living in higher states of consciousness, right? So are you living in the 3D, the 4D, or the 5D? And this is also like a little love letter. A little love letter to the masculines in my life that are still choosing to live in toxic masculinity, be it blatantly or just something that, you know, you're doing behind the scenes. Okay, so how I came up with this topic is I was just taking inventory of my life over like the last year or two, and I was just like trying to figure out like how it is that I have survived, right? How I have been able to get through certain situations, get through certain things, and be unfazed, or be able to get through certain situations and come out better than I was whenever I came in. How is it that I was able to heal from certain things, learn certain lessons, and you know what I mean, like glow up versus blow up, you know what I'm saying? And I realized it's because I live in a 5D consciousness, right? And 5D consciousness is a very, very powerful place to reside. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to explain to you guys the differences between living in the 3D, the 4D, and the 5D, right? And, you know, they say that there is no state of consciousness that is better than the other because all of our souls have contracted to experience certain things, right? So certain people have decided in their soul contract that they did want to come and be more 3D based, and others of us, a part of our soul contract was for us to go through an ascension and to take on a higher state of consciousness, right? Because we are actually here to raise the collective consciousness of the earth, and through doing so, raising the earth's vibration. Okay, so let's get into this, y'all. All right, so what does it mean to live in the 3D, right? Living in the 3D, basically, if you're still living in the 3D realm, you are more concerned with cars, clothes, money, and hoes, like I always say. No, but seriously, you're more concerned about basically like the material things in life, status, how it is that you look to other people, what it is that you have, like your physical possessions, things of that nature. You have not tapped into your divinity, so to speak, right? And we're all born into a 3D existence, right? So at some point in our lives, we all lived a very 3D based life. But as we go through spiritual ascensions and we start to awaken, we start to tap into higher levels of consciousness, right? And there's 11 different multi-universes, or 11 different dimensions that you can actually experience, right? Now, all of these cannot be experienced necessarily from a 3D perspective. However, as we go through ascensions and things of that nature, certain dimensions, we can only access those through actually traveling there in a more spiritual sense, okay? But as far as 3D, 4D, and 5D, we can experience them here on Earth, right? And I believe that our consciousness has to do with our state of mind, right? Our state of being mentally, okay? So as we begin to change our mental state, as we begin to raise our consciousness, that is how we begin to elevate to a higher level of consciousness. Now, some people think that, you know, having hidden knowledge and, you know, certain things like that makes them enlightened and makes them, you know, conscious, like a conscious being, right? but it really has a lot more to do with how it is that you begin to view and perceive the world, because you can have secret knowledge and still be very 3D based, in that your stance and your outlook on life, what your priorities are, basically. So those of us that are still living in the 3D, they are going to be very concerned about competition. The 3D realm embodies the energy of, it's a dog-eat-dog world, right? Everything is a competition because it's not enough to go around. Like, you got to fight for whatever it is that you need, right? Very much a world of living in comparisons. We're still comparing ourselves to other people. We still live in a state of jealousy and envy because we're looking at what other people have and how what they have measures up to what it is that we have, right? So that's a 3D consciousness. Very concerned with material things, right? The 3D consciousness is very dense, right? So that's why a lot of people, they're still drinking and drugging and doing certain things so that they can, in a sense, kind of like escape reality. But instead of escaping reality by having a higher mind shift, they choose to stay in the 3D, surround themselves around 3D things, measure themselves by 3D factors, and, you know, escape by drugging and drinking and women and, you know, just having certain vices that you use in order to be able to escape reality as you know it, right? Then, as you step into the 4D, the 4D means that you are still kind of concerned about some of the things of the 3D realm. However, you have now tapped a little bit more into your intuition. Like, you do realize that, you know, it's something bigger than what it is that we see in the 3D, right? So you've started to realize that, like, yeah, there are some things that are, you know, a little bit different, but you haven't fully stepped into living within your truth, right? You haven't quite let go of the importance and the priority of the things in the 3D realm, as in the things that you can acquire, as in the things that you have, right? You still may measure yourself up to other people, but you may also realize that, like, you know what, my actions actually affect those around me. So you may eat a little better, you may work out, you may take care of your body a little bit better, right? But you're still in a 3D consciousness. You haven't quite let go and floated into that 5D consciousness. Once you get into the 5D realm, you realize that there's a unity consciousness when you live in the 5D, right? So it's no longer a competition. It's no longer me against you. It's no longer dog eat dog. You realize that whatever experiences you went through, they were to benefit you in some type of way. Whatever experiences you went through, they were for you to experience some type of level up. You realize that all things work together and that we're all connected, right? You tap into your heart space. You live from your heart space. You have an overwhelming feelings of love and emotion and compassion for others. You treat others as you would want to be treated. You learn to be able to forgive. How is it that you forgive? Because you realize that everything you've gone through has actually worked together for your betterment. So I no longer need to be upset or angry about the things that you did and things of that nature, because I realized that all of those things work together. They made me a better person. They set me into a different place or space, right? They may have pushed me out of my comfort zone, things of that nature, right? And with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about toxic masculinity, right? Because what I realize nowadays, which is so crazy, like, I remember a few years ago, we donned the phrase thirst traps, right? Thirst traps was when girls would, like, take pictures on the internet, and, it was all to get attention, right? Thirst traps. And I realized that, like, a lot of these men that are still very much tapped into their toxic masculinity, like, they are attention whores, right? It's like they put out this perception as if, they're all about love and relationships and things of that nature, when in reality, they just want attention. Like, everything they do is for attention, and you can tell if you were probably contracted to at some point embrace and experience the 3D experience, but then also you were meant to elevate to a higher level of consciousness. How will you know that? Because 9 times out of 10, let me move this because the sun, y'all. Look at the sun. Oh, no, that's too bright. Slide it over here. How will you know that you probably were meant to kind of like raise your consciousness? It's probably the fact of the people that you come in contact with, right? So if you realize that God has placed certain people in your life, and I'm going to use myself as an example. If God has placed certain women in your life to show you unconditional love, to pour into you, to build you up, to encourage you, right? To encourage you to change your ways, or just be an example of someone that you can actually treat differently than, say, you've treated all the other women in your life, right? Because you're toxic, right? So if God has sent certain people in your lives, be it men or women, to help you raise your consciousness, help you see things from a different perspective, help you see things differently, then 9 times out of 10, you probably were meant to raise your consciousness at some point, right? And the thing that really gets me is that these toxic men, they really believe that trying to hurt those that actually have been sent into their lives to be a help, because their egos may have gotten broken, their egos are fragile. Because when you're in a 3D state, or you're living in toxic masculinity, like, you live by your ego. You don't live out of your heart space. You live by your ego, right? And your ego is very fragile. Your heart is one of the strongest organs in your body, right? So the heart can heal, the heart can expand. There's a lot that the heart can do. The ego can only get bigger and get cracked, right? The ego can only get bigger and get bruised, right? And what I realize is that a lot of these men, they feel as though whenever they dog out or what's the word I want to use, betray those that have been sent into their lives to be a help, those that have been sent in their lives to be a light in the dark, they're not hurting those people, right? You're not hurting those who were sent to help you because you still choose and decide to be toxic. You're not hurting them. You're only hurting you. Because 9 times out of 10, they're living in a 5D consciousness. Like, they realize that whatever it is that they have gone through in life, whatever it is that you tried to take them through, or whatever the case may be, they realize that has helped them grow. That has helped them level up, right? So a little love note to all the toxic masculines that have been in my life and still, you know, want to be all up in my energy. Like, you're never going to hurt a divine feminine by showing how toxic you can be. If anything, I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in the masculines who I have come into their life and been something different and shined a light into certain areas of their lives and honored them, right? Let's talk about the power of honor. To honor someone means that you bestow upon them characteristics and a title that they may have not necessarily stepped into, right? But because you see greatness within yourself, you also see greatness within them. So guess what? You honor them. How do you honor them? You speak to that greatness. You speak to that king within them, right? So you're not hurting someone that chose to honor you because you chose to continue to operate at your lower self or your lower vibration. You're never going to hurt that particular person. You're not, right? It doesn't matter how many things you try to do and how it is that you try to go against someone who's been sent to help you. You're not going to phase them. Whatever it is that they go through, they're just going to level up from it, right? So for the toxic masculines out there that think that, you know, that because you want to be a trash bag, you can actually hurt a divine feminine or break her heart or whatever the case may be, like, joke's on y'all, right? Joke's on y'all. So I just wanted to say that because to me, like, it's really sad. Like, when I see people stuck in that 3D way of thinking, it's really sad. Because when you get to a higher state of consciousness, your manifestations come in quicker for you, right? You're living in your truth. You're living in your truth. You're standing in your truth. You're comfortable in your truth. You're comfortable in your skin. You're no longer comparing yourself to other people and feeling less than, because let's be honest, when we start comparing ourselves to other people, like, that is the quickest way to end up in a depression. That is the quickest way to end up feeling bitter and angry and lashing out, right? That's that's just a very quick way for you to spiral into more toxicity, right? And you're not hurting anybody by showing how toxic you can be. If anything, those of us that have chosen to live in a more 5D consciousness, we actually feel sad and we actually feel disappointed, because some of us realize that it was our soul contract to come and speak into your life. It was a part of our soul contract to come and remind you that, hey, you were supposed to get it right this lifetime. You were not supposed to be toxic. You were toxic last lifetime. You were not supposed to be toxic this lifetime, right? When people come into your life and they're patient with you and they speak into you and they call out things in you that you haven't even stepped into, right? That's because their soul was contracted to do so. So when you choose to still vibrate on a lower vibration, you're not hurting any of us that are living in a higher frequency. You're not hurting us, right? If anything, you're just making it easy for you to be able to gravitate out of our space, you know, out of our frequency, out of our energy. Okay, so that was just, you know, that was just a little PSA to, like, you know, my toxic masculine. This is the reason why I don't go on people's social media pages and all of that stuff, because it's just like, it's a joke. Some of the shit I see is just a joke, and some of it is really sad. And I've been very disappointed in what it is that I've seen. And people think that they're hurting me, but I'm not hurt. I'm disappointed. You know, I feel sad for you, because I know that there's more for you in life. I know that, you know, when you live in a 5D consciousness, you don't need to rob other people of their energy. You don't need to steal other people's energy in order to be able to have the power to manifest. Because when you're in a 5D, you're able to manifest, because you're operating out of your heart space, and love is the highest vibration, right? So when you raise your vibration, you can speak certain things and it will happen. You can envision certain things and it will happen. You can utilize your gifts for good and not evil, right? You're not partially tapped into your psychic gifts. You're all the way tapped in. You done stepped all the way up in it, right? So that 5D consciousness is where it is that we want to be. Like, you realize that, like, you know, I really care about my community. I care about those around me. I care about people's feelings, right? I'm not just here to prove a point and be in a competition and show what it is that I have in comparison to what somebody else doesn't have. Because at the end of the day, it's a very sad existence if we're really honest. You know, like, I wouldn't want to live in an existence where all I saw was negativity and competition and trying to one up somebody. Like, that's why our communities are in the state that we're in right now, because we haven't broken out of that 3D consciousness. We haven't broken out of the matrix. So we continue to perpetuate negativity versus 5D. 5D is always looking at positive. You focus on the positive things in life, right? You focus on how you can be better. You focus on where it is that you are going in life, right? You're not stuck. You're no longer stuck in the rat race, right? So I want to encourage my masculines to really tap in and start to really recognize and realize what it is to live in a higher state of consciousness, right? It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to be. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you guys, I just wanted to come and talk to you a little bit about 5D consciousness, 4D consciousness, and what it is to be stuck in the matrix in the 3D consciousness, right? Now, they say that no state of consciousness is better than the other, right? But I would prefer to live at a higher vibration, right? A higher consciousness. Like, it's like you're above the bullshit. So it's just like certain things, you know, it just can't touch you. It just can't affect you. It just can't get all up in your energy and produce low vibrations and produce more negativity. You know what I'm saying? So people that kind of are in the 4D, that reminds me of people that kind of like tap in and tap out. Like, one minute they're a good person, the next minute they tap back into that toxicity. You can do that whenever you're in the 4D. You can easily go between the 3D and the 4D, right? But once you get into a 5D consciousness, a 5D state of mind, you have a different way of viewing the world. You have a different way of showing up. You have a different way of how it is that you process things, how it is that you talk to yourself internally, right? And it's very hard to shift back into that 3D consciousness, okay? So I just want to encourage all of those that are operating from a 3D consciousness, thinking that you can affect or hurt or harm someone that's living at a higher level of consciousness, is just not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So yeah, you guys, that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I want you guys to be thinking about it. Am I living in a 3D? Am I stuck in a matrix? Or am I in the 4D? Or am I working my way up to the 5D? You know what I'm saying? And that would be my hope. That would be my hope for all of you guys to truly raise your consciousness in a way that really, really matters, right? So that you can be a greater asset to the world, right? Because even in your 4D consciousness, you do start to search out like what your purpose is in life and things of that nature. But because you are so, you know, you still a little fragile, you know, you still a little fragile, so you can kind of like fall back into that 3D state, that 3D way of being, that dog eat dog world where you really don't care about anybody because you're just trying to get them before they get you. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, you know, it's just a sad, sucky ass existence. So I just wanted to come and teach you guys about 3D, 4D, and 5D. And I want to encourage you guys to be striving to live at your highest state of consciousness, because it's just a beautiful place to be, right? You're more peaceful, you're more grounded, you're more happy, you're more joyous, because those are the things that you are focusing on. You're not getting pulled back into, you know, lower vibrations. You're not getting pulled back into your lower self, your lower vibing self. You know what I'm saying? And it's just a better place to be, you know? So, yeah, you guys, that's all I got for y'all. My social medias are in the description bar. So if you have not, follow me on Instagram. That's my only social media I got, y'all. Follow me on Instagram. Like this video. Comment. Share it with your friends. Share this video with your friends. If you have not yet, if you ain't subscribed yet, what the heck is you waiting for? Subscribe, hit the bell button so you know every time I post up. And remember, I love you. Peace.